Okay, ayan. Okay na siya. Pagpasensyahan niyo na po, okay? Maya pabengi sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi. Maayong gabi and good evening to each and everyone. Isang mapagpalang gabi sa ating lahat and welcome to series of National Capacity Building Seminars on Research Writing for Research Consultants with a topic Conceptualizing a Qualitative Study, Motivations, Justification, and the Centrality of the Inquiry. So I'm Maria Alyssa A. Tuazon, your event chairperson who will be your moderator and guide for the entire webinar. To know more about me, I'm a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Secondary Education, major in MAPE, and took up my master's degree in Educational Management at Our Lady of Fatima University, Pampanga campus. Aside from my love for research, I'm also a music teacher and soprano choir member. I'm currently working as public school teacher here in DepEd Division of Angeles City. I know everyone is excited to learn new things today. So to formally start our webinar, let's ask the guidance of the Lord through prayer to be followed by the singing of Philippine National Anthem.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, become successful in its endeavors so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Hindi po yata siya naririnig. Wait lang. Paano ba siya i-share ng... Wait lang. Option. Hindi po ba siya naririnig?
Mga kababayan, ang
Naririnig na po ba? Anyone?
Okay na po, ma'am.
Naririnig po?
Okay na po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
bansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Okay. This event is an initiative of ETCOR's Educational Research Center to equip its research consultants with the necessary knowledge and skills in the conduct of research, as well as to enable them to become better research consultants. This series of events are intended for ETCOR's research consultants, but also open to the public, especially students and educators who wish to improve themselves in the field of research writing. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the following persons. Dr. Richard D. Sanchez, our ever supportive head research consultant. Dr. A.C. Lagman and Dr. Ian I. Linares, National Consultant and National Deputy Consultant of Research Publication and Trainings. Also, ETCOR's National Consultants, hello. Regional Coordinators, hi. Provincial Division, City Coordinators, and all ETCOR research consultants who are present in the event. Let us now watch a short clip about the general house rules of this webinar. Okay. Let us now hear Dr. Mervin Florento Goña, a Master Teacher 1 and presently teaching at Itaas Elementary School, Muntinlupa City for almost 17 years, and a graduate of Master of Arts in Education in Educational Management at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Muntinlupa, and a graduate of doctorate degree, major in Educational Management at Eulogio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology in Manila. Friends and participants, let us give Dr. Goña a virtual applause as he delivers his welcome message.
Good evening, Ma'am Maria Alyssa. Good evening, everyone. And thank you po, Ma'am. To our energetic ETCOR Head Research Consultant, Dr. Richard D. Sanchez, our overall project coordinators of Project Sagip Manaliksik for Everyone, Dr. Adrian Lawrence Carvajal and Dr. Bernadette Lijarde, our National Consultant and Deputy Consultant for Research and Publications, Dr. Ace Lagman and Dr. Ian Linares, our National Consultants, Regional, Provincial, and City Research Coordinators, and also our research consultants from the different regions. Good evening. Ayan, magandang gabi, maradyaw, maayong gabi sa tanan. On behalf of ETCOR, it is my pleasure to welcome you all the participants tonight for our series of national capacity building seminars on research writing for research consultants about qualitative research. Tonight, we can hear from our knowledgeable and handsome research speaker, no other than Sir Michael Louie Celis for his topic, Conceptualizing a Qualitative Study, Motivations, Justifications, and the Centrality of the Inquiry. As we all know, that qualitative research relies on data obtained by the researcher from first-hand observation, interviews, questionnaires, forum group discussion, recordings made in natural settings, documents, and artifacts. So these data are generally non-numerical. We hope this webinar series would help research consultants expand their mental horizon and use for their professional growth and extend in a wider community. May I request all the participants to make use of this webinar to the best of their abilities. Stay relaxed, enjoy, and welcome you all. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Dr. Goña, for that warm welcome. We are now on the most awaited part of this webinar, the discussion proper. Let me introduce to you our speaker for today. Mr. Michael is a native of Angeles City, Pampanga. He is both a licensed nurse and a teacher. Currently, he is affiliated with the City College of Angeles and held various positions from 2019 to 2021 as Executive Assistant to the Vice President for Academic Affairs, from 2020 to 2021 as Head of the Center of Academic Events, from 2017 to 2019 as Senior Researcher under the Vice President for Research and Extension, and from 2017 to 2019 as Secretary of the CCA Aguman de Rentalataru. He finished his Bachelor of Science in Nursing at University of Santo Tomas and his Master's in Health Social Science through Ford Foundation Scholarship at the De La Salle University, Manila. Currently, he is enrolled in the Doctor of Philosophy in Sociology, major in Family, Health, and Population Dynamics as a St. La Salle scholar at the same university. In terms of research, he has worked with several government and non-government agencies and international organizations in various capacities. He has also published and presented, both in local and international conferences, several researches in the field of health, sociology, and education. He is awarded with several fellowships with different institutions, which include Tawid Duno Fellowship Program of the Balikatan sa Kaunlaran National Foundation, the Cultural Center of the Philippines Kaisa sa Sining Program as a Humanitarian Fellow of the Brown University, Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, Health Social Science Research Fellow of the UST Research Center for Social Sciences and Education, as an International Health Fellow of Hokkaido University Japan Science and Technology Agency, and as a Writing Fellow of the Ateneo Institute of Literary Arts and Practices. Currently, he is writing his dissertation focusing on elderlies in solo living arrangements within disaster-prone areas in Pampanga. Friends and participants, let us welcome Sir Michael Louie Celis from City College of Angeles City. Sir Celis, the floor is now yours.
All right. Thank you, Ma'am Tuazon, for that very generous introduction. And I would like, before anything else, of course, I would like to thank Mr. Dr. Sanchez for inviting me again as part of this very momentous event. I was quite nervous, honestly, because I kind of thought that most of the participants will be, budding researchers, beginning, qualitative researchers, no. But then upon seeing you all here, I think my jitters came in, no. It's like I am defending something in front of, a very big panel, no. Ilan ba tayo ngayon? It's around 70. All right. So anyway, I've prepared a very simple presentation that I think all of us are all familiar with, or some of us are experts on this field in one way or the other. No? But what I will be sharing with you today is my experience and how I conduct qualitative research preparations, not just for my students, but as a researcher as well. Just like what Madam mentioned a while ago, aside from teaching, I do several, moonlighting with other agencies. My most recent one is with USAID. If you're familiar with it, it's an international uh, it's an international organization that focuses on giving, of course, opportunities for the different vulnerable sectors. No, and my work is basically qualitative. No, gone are well, I hope. No, sorry, I will be biased. No, just to give you, a precaution. No, lalong lalo na po sa mga quantitative researchers natin na nandito ngayon, pasensya na. But I will be biased because qualitative research really changed my perspective, not just on how I look on the different issues, okay, but how I handle myself publicly or as a teacher, okay, or as a person, okay. So for today, what we're going to talk about is how to conceptualize qualitative studies, okay, and what would be our underlying motivations, no, justifications, and probably the different centrality of inquiries. No? So as you can see in my background, I'm very proud of it. Okay, I am affiliated with City College of Angeles. No, I have been teaching in this institution for like almost a decade already. Although CCA was founded at around 2012, but at the same time, it's very young. No, it's a very young college. No, it's a very young local college. But I think we are quite proud of in terms of the research advancement and the performance of our students in terms of research and other factors as well. Okay, we were mga suki kami ng mga conference, especially for the students. No, that's why I invited some of my students here with us so that they would get a grasp or somewhat an idea about it. No, so this is my home. Okay, this is my home for the past almost 9 years, and now it is a COVID facility. Okay, as you if you would notice, no, 3 floors lang po yan. No? The first floor is dedicated for vaccination, and the other 2 floors are dedicated for quarantine purposes. So kapag yung isang tao na-expose siya sa isang COVID patient, so more or less the whole family will be quarantined there. No, so I just gave you a little bit of background about this building because later on I will be giving some examples. I will be giving some ideas where we can conceptualize, okay, these research studies. Especially, I believe most of us are mentoring students, no, and in order for us to motivate them to practice research, okay, we must be close at their hearts. And since it's pandemic, ayan nga po, no, now just like what I've mentioned, it's a COVID facility. Despite the fact that we are teaching from home, buhay na buhay pa rin po yung school namin, serving as another purpose. Okay, so it served another, kumbaga, way to serve the public. No? Kung 2 years ago, it serves as a learning institution, ngayon it serves as a hope, to make things better. All right? So, ayan po. So for today, what we're going to talk about is the different, probably I will be introducing the most general and the most useful inquiries and paradigms that can be used by, budding researchers that you are trying to help with. No, I believe some of our doctors here, yung mga professors po natin are handling some advices, whether in the undergrad or in the master's level, or probably some in the PhD level. I highly advise, I highly encourage you to include some of these concepts, some of these paradigms and inquiries on the way you conceptualize problems for your students. No, so later on we'll be talking more about these paradigms and how we define it and how we use it as researchers. And then later on, we're going to talk about how do we design a research project based on or related to daily life. I mean, I think this is the most common among qualitative researchers. No, we try to capture as much as possible how reality is perceived by our participants or by our subjects, and in order for us to capture it, it must be relatable, no? Not just within their community, but for other people as well. Para mas maintindihan natin bakit sila ganoon at bakit nangyayari yon sa kanila. And then lastly, of course, I will be presenting some common justifications or reasons for conducting these research studies. No, good thing that with the advent of technology, with the proliferation of free ideas, no, sabi nga natin open access universe. Okay, we were able to gather as much as information and useful applications, sources, programs that could help us redefine and justify our chosen topics. So I hope everyone will be participative, and at the same time I hope in one way or the other you'll be learning something new today, despite the fact of your expertise. No, I am not declaring myself as an expert yet, because I am just new in this field. I have been just practicing research for like more than 10 years. At marami pa po akong kailangang matutunan at natututunan magpahanggang ngayon. So, if ever that I failed to, match up your expectations or probably deliver what you wanted, no, please forgive me in advance, no. I think this is the main reason why there's always room for improvement. All right. So before we start, let me just ask you this famous line. Ayan. Bakit kayo baliw na baliw sa research? If you can, well, as shown in our slide, I think this line was delivered around 2 or 3 years ago, prior to the pandemic. And the good senator, Senator Cynthia Villar, was like grilling a particular department, and she was quoted saying this, no. So let me just ask you now, okay, among my fellow educators as well some of my students, bakit tayo baliw na baliw sa research? What is our intention? Why do we need to do it? I mean, you can see, probably if you wanted to share, you can unmute your phones or probably write down your comments at the chat box. Anyone? I think some are, or probably you may raise your hand so that we can see. Bakit ba tayo baliw na baliw sa research? For me, I mean, I won't be, I won't be, ano ba, I will be blatant, no? Research brought a lot of opportunities for me. No, I was able to travel, not just the Philippines, but internationally because of research. Okay, I was able to meet a lot of people because of research. And lastly, of course, I earn extra, no, because of research. So those are my top 3 reasons why I am baliw na baliw sa research. So Ma'am Mary Easter, she's raising her hand. Yes, ma'am. Bakit po tayo baliw na baliw sa research?
Hi, good evening, sir.
Ay, good evening po.
Am I audible?
Yes po.
Okay. Well, one of my reasons why I really love doing research is because I like exploring things. I want to have answers for my questions.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. Diba? I think
Yeah.
that's one of the main purpose of research, to answer questions. Thank you for that, Ma'am Easter.
You're
All right.
welcome. Thank you then.
All right, so let me just read some of the comments from our audiences. Okay, so according to Ma'am Cecilia Adefuin, required sa accreditation. Oh my God, I could relate to this, no? When since I mentioned earlier, City College of Pangal is relatively new, so we were required to produce research. Okay, the faculty were required to produce research, despite the fact that none of us had the capacity wala pa kaming capacity building programs, something like that. So it was made from scratch, no? Buti na lang, with the ingenuity of the other teachers and administrations, no? We were able to produce our own journals. We were able to, compete internationally and nationally. All right. So, ayun, no, we thank our previous mentors as well, because they've helped us to acquire such, skills. Okay. Yeah, kailangan nga po sa accreditation. And then Sir Dr. Goña mentioned, no, may allowance kami from the city. Yes. I think that's it's called BERF, Basic Education Research something fund. Yeah, way back, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I am part of the reviewers for researches that will be conducted by public school teachers in Angeles City. No? So I was lucky enough, I was privileged enough to be one of the evaluators for that. And sabi naman ni my colleague, Mr. Adrian Tamayo, because research keeps our sanity. Nako sir, baka naman kabaligtaran ata yan. All right. Anyway, so Miss Dulay mentioned for promotion. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, no, because there are several academic institutions, especially those in the high HEIs. Before you get, your regularization, or before you get a plantilla position, you need to, do your research. No, it's like publish or perish rule. Okay, in LaSalle, I think it should be, aside from the Scopus index, mas nagmamatter if it's in Q1 or Q2. No? So because there are several levels, okay, it's not just Scopus, it should be Q1 or Q2, something like that. Okay, so according to Ms. Castillo, research is life. It uplifts human status in life. It solves problems. It gives me a second life. Okay, that's so sweet, Ma'am Castillo. And I agree with you, no? Sabi ko nga kanina, because of research, I was able to appreciate more. Okay, specifically qualitative research. So according to, and then of course the incentives, ayan, baliw na baliw ako sa research because research is for daily life, promotion, and for the answers. All right. And then, of course, as teachers, siguro ito yung basis ni Ma'am Estacio, no? Sabi niya, we need to address issues in teaching and learning, okay? To improve practices and processes. So I hope my students here, I have my third year students with me right now. So please take note of all of these answers because this is the reality, guys. All right? So ang mga kuya at ate natin at ang mga mga tito tita natin with us today are sharing with us the utility and the value of research. All right? And I remember one of my professors mentioned that, as teachers, as educators, we must not just settle on sharing what we know, but we must also generate knowledge, so that the future learners or our learners, our current learners, will be able to, absorb more. Okay? So, ayan po. So, because we are really chasing for the truth, just like any relationship, nagiging baliw tayo pag hindi natin nalalaman kung anong totoo. Yes, no? So in short, wala pong closure, no? Kaya gustong malaman kung anong totoo. Okay. So according to Dr. Carvajal, research provides solutions to our problems like vaccine for COVID-19 and provide new knowledge. So there are a lot, no, actually. And all of this, I think, are all worth, taking down, taking note to, no? Because without research, we won't be able to, just like what one of our audiences mentioned a while ago. I discover new solutions to current problems like vaccine. No? But behind every research, behind every question, behind every inquiry, okay, lies a curious mind. Okay? Meron pong isang tao na nag-isip na nagtanong, anong meron dito at bakit nangyayari ito? No? So I think as qualitative researchers, okay, we must be able to decipher what we really want, what is our purpose in life, in order for us to produce more quality and more relevant research output and research protocols or probably research problems that might or can influence the future. Okay. Although the good senator, no, Senator Villar, sounds pessimistic or probably sounds, very parang kontrabida. But this particular question she raised is a wake-up call for us. Okay, for us, lalo na sa academe, because it reminds us that, a research is not just, a requirement to submit at the end of your program. It's not just a subject to take because it's part of the curriculum, but rather research must be, useful, must aim to be great, to change life or probably to shed new light. Okay, not just for everyone, or at least man lang kahit sa isang maliit na community or sector of the society. So thank you for all of your answers, no, and all of those are worth noting down to. All right, so let's now proceed with what lies ahead. Okay, qualitative research. So I'm very much sure that all of you are familiar with qualitative research, just like dun sa opening remarks natin kanina, no, Dr. Goña mentioned that, when we think of qualitative research, it's more on the words, it's more on the observation, no. And this is the most common concept about qualitative research, no. As shown in this figure. There are a lot of people, and all of them, voice out something, no? So it really depends on what type of a person are you. Okay, it depends on your social economic status. What's your thought about this particular thing? No, it also depends on your race or ethnicity. It depends on your generation. Okay. So, yes, tama ka, Mr. Guevara, no? This image shows that, there are different, thoughts, okay? They might be sharing and collaborating ideas with anyone, no? So, but, it's very impossible for us to gather all of these thoughts at once, no? Kasi para siyang halo-halo, no? When you ask an opinion, or you ask a perspective from one person to the other, if you don't know how to, dissect, if you don't know how to categorize, okay, para siyang, chop suey, para siyang halo-halo, it's mixed, okay? And you won't be able to get the essence out of it, okay? And as in qualitative research, okay, you'll be able to learn all of this particular, uh, sets of data na hindi ma-acquire, okay, sa ibang methodologies, no? So just like what I've mentioned a while ago, no, I'm quite biased. Okay, kasi in quantitative research, you have predetermined na, no? Meron ka ng categories, meron ka ng subclasses, etc., etc. But, one of the critical characteristics ng isang qualitative researcher is, they have the ability to dissect all of these big chunks of data into smaller units so that they may be able to categorize and classify them differently. So that's what this image is all about, no? So imagine, no, ang dami-daming tao, tapos different thoughts, different views, different perspective. Okay? So yan lahat yung data na gagamitin ng isang qualitative researcher. Just like what I've mentioned earlier, okay, our role as qualitative research is to pinpoint the essence of a particular issue. Okay, our role is to not just magnify, okay, but rather we look at a different lens, at a different angle, so that we'll be able to understand why such situation is happening. No? Yes, sabi ni Ms. Castillo, through qualitative research, you can understand in-depth human, his being, his behavior, and the society where he lives, the system that governs, the rich experiences shared and encountered, and the nature of every people group and rich culture embedded in it. No? So yes, I agree with this statement. No, primarily because numbers cannot capture all of these nuances. No, if you've heard about it. No, ito yung ang nuances po siya, parang minute details that only through observation and in-depth analysis mo makikita, no? Yung mga akala nating mga maliliit na bagay, yun pala malaki ang impact sa pagdating sa culture, pagdating sa pagkatao, or pagdating sa perspective nung particular subject or participant na yon, no? It's like, in quantitative, okay, it's somewhat like an outlier. All right, it's an outlier. Sa quantitative, ayaw natin ng outlier. All right, so pero sa qualitative, kapag nakakita tayo ng outlier, okay, it's like finding a pot of gold, okay, out of a sand, or a pile of rocks, okay, because that particular nuance or that particular special phenomenon, okay, can be a representation of a unique culture or a unique identity. Okay, so that's what we are looking to, no? That's what we are finding out, no? Bakit sa grupong ito, bakit sa community na to, ito yung nangingibabaw or bakit nangyayari ang mga bagay na to. All right? So generally, that's how we look into qualitative research, no? So according to PATHAC, okay, so qualitative research focuses in understanding a research query as a humanistic approach. So we view every entity, every human, every subject or participant as human. Okay, we acknowledge their weaknesses, we acknowledge their strengths, we acknowledge their faults. Okay, so we just view them as person, no? Na may chance ang magkamali, may chance ang magsinungaling, things like that, no? That's why it's a different approach in quantitative, primarily because you see people as numbers, you see respondents as just single entity, no? Hindi ko sinasabing walang puso sa quantitative, but rather we see the human person in qualitative primarily because we dig deeper into their thoughts, into their emotions, right? So the quantitative approach is a more reliable method as it is based upon numeric approaches, no? And are made objectively, okay? And ito yung mas mabilis, mas madaling ma-analyze because you just put in your numbers, you just code the responses, and then press enter, voila, you have your you have your output, you have your statistical analysis, no? Qualitative method is used to understand people's beliefs, experiences, attitudes, and other abstract reasonings, no, actions that are beyond numbers, no? Lagi natin tinatanong, no, how do you measure love, no? How do you measure effort? How do you measure time, no? How do you measure commitment? Okay, although you can probably throw around a Likert scale, but in the real world, when you ask your wife, when you ask your jowa, when you ask your special someone, how do you know that you love me? How do you know that it's effort, your effort is quantifiable? So it's very impossible to put in numbers, diba, to measure it. Okay, and alangan naman lagi nating okay, it's always lagi 5, ayan, diba, sa Likert scale. So yan yung kaibahan natin as qualitative researchers, no? We tend to look for other evidences that will commensurate, okay, with love, with effort, with commitment, okay, rather than asking them to rate it, okay? And besides, no, yung Likert scale, merong issue rin naman doon, 'di ba? Yung issue of central tendency, all right? Yung how would you know if it's between 4 or 5? Okay? So things like that, no? So the integration of qualitative research into intervention studies is also another research strategy that is gaining increased attention across discipline, no? I've mentioned a while ago that I am part of this it's a nationwide study, okay, all about out of school children or out of school youth. And good thing is the Philippines is one of the beneficiaries of USAID, no, United States of America International Aid for Development. And pinag-aral sila ng libre, binigyan sila ng gadgets, communication allowance. They are being trained with soft skills and as well as technical skills through TESDA. It's a partnership between USAID and TESDA. So, dati, if we're just going to, conduct a study about, effectivity of, this particular methodology or this particular strategy, usually nagpapasurvey tayo, no? Pero ngayon, no, we don't do that anymore, no? Maraming mga international agencies as well as, local departments, no? I've worked with DSWD, I've worked with DOH, I've worked with DOLE, ano pa ba yung mga naka-work kong mga agencies? DOST as well. So, and most of these agencies are leaning towards qualitative methodologies already. No? Kasi, it's not just the numbers that, measures the success of a particular program. No? It's the quality. Okay? Kaya nga qualitative. It's how the people uses these programs to be more successful or to be more, productive in their lives, no? So later on, I hope if we have more time, I will be showing you, no, yung kung gaano kabigat ang trabaho ng isang qualitative researchers, lalo na kunwari nationwide yung study. Okay? So although just going back to our presentation, although once viewed as a philosophically incongruent with experimental research, nowadays qualitative research is being utilized now to interventional studies. No? Believe it or not, even sa development po ng COVID vaccine natin, several international research centers are going through that trend, no? They are utilizing qualitative studies, specifically targeting, indigenous peoples, no? As you know, okay, since yung ibang mga indigenous peoples are secluded or are in geographically isolated, and depressed area, or probably iba yung culture and mentality nila. Okay, we bring in what the potential, virus with them. Okay, to them pala. Okay, so they are now looking into the qualitative way on how to, ano bang magiging epekto kapag, nabakunahan sila. Of course, there's this also the scientific intervention, no? Ano ba yung mag-change ba yung ways nila, masisira ba yung mga iniingatan nilang traditions if we penetrate their culture, so something like that, no? So it's getting momentum already, no? Anyway, that was 2013 when Pathak mentioned this, but I think nowadays it's very rampant na, no? I'm not sure if you're familiar with this issue recently with a group of Scandinavian researchers, no, yung kumuha ng DNA sample sa mga Aita without without the proper protocol. Okay, and I think the most common na narinig natin and bigla sumikat sa social media is Nas Daily, no? With that of the culture of Wangod, okay, because it's also somewhat like qualitative research, no? You need to they are there to document everything, and it's like observation. Kaya lang niya ang difference nun is whatever the activity that the community, specifically that of what Wangod is doing, is being shown to a larger audience, no? So parang na-violate yung cultural aspect natin pagdating doon. So all of these issues are embedded in qualitative research, and I hope in the succeeding slides you'll be able to realize why. So when researchers talk about the different approaches to research, they talk about paradigms. Okay, dito na yung nabanggit ko kanina na why do we look into them? Why do we look into their perspective? Why do we look deeply, no, into the people or our participants, no? So, one of the first few concepts that I've learned in my second master's degree at De La Salle is the word paradigm. So nung una akala ko kapag paradigm is just like a framework, you know, yung mga box, yung mga circle na pinagdugtong na mga arrow and all. Yun yung una kong naisip when it comes to paradigm. But you know, there's a deeper meaning about paradigm, okay? It is called worldview, okay? It is a worldview or a set of assumptions of how things work. It's like, you know, it is like, this is why I believe in. No, this particular community believes or practices a particular, you know, tradition or a particular set of activity na napapass on through succeeding generations. No? So according to Rosman and Rallis, no, paradigm is what you call a shared understanding of reality. No? So this is their reality. No? So whenever we talk about paradigm or worldview, okay, we talk about the reality of the people that we are working with. No? Yung mga participants natin, yung mga subjects natin. All right? And it's not our own. It's not our own. We are basically just, you know, we are basically just reporters or rapporteurs of what we are observing and what we are, you know, absorbing. So kung ano ang nakita natin, kung ano ang na-observe natin, kung ano ang narinig natin or na-transcribe natin based from our questions or based from our inquiry, yun yung realidad sa kanila, yun yung worldview nila, yun yung pinaniniwalaan nila. And we cannot question it, no? That's why I remember I sat on a panel, no? I sat on a panel na may co-panelist ako tinanong. And the study is all about qualitative. And may co-panelist ako tinanong, ba't ganyan yung interpretation nyo dyan? Paano nyo nasabing ganito, ganyan yung meaning niyan? For me, the meaning of that is ganito. So I was a bit shocked, and at the same time, medyo naging uncomfortable ako, primarily because, you know, yung definition po kasi ng isang particular phenomenon or, you know, whatever it is, okay, was derived from the participants. And that's a basic rule. That's a basic, you know, knowledge when it comes to qualitative research. But then again, of course, out of respect, no. Anyway, quantitative approach kasi yung mentality nung co-panelist ko. So, ayun, hinayaan ko na lang tumaas ang BP niya. Tapos nung medyo naging malumanay na siya. So, I tried to, you know, in a subtle way to explain to him na in qualitative research po kasi ganito yan. So, unlike in quantitative, researchers you know, define a particular concept, 'di ba? Kaya nga meron po tayong operational and conceptual definition. Lagi nating nilalagay 'yon as in quantitative. But in qualitative, the definition is basically lifted from the statements or from the actions of the people that we are working with, no? Or yung mga subjects or participants natin. So, ayun, I hope I shed, you know, it was clear on that part, no? So, ayun, quantitative and qualitative research methods involve very different assumptions how research should be done and conducted. So, it's a very big transition. All right. Just to give you a very short na, pasensya na po ha, yung mga qualitative researchers, madadaldal talaga yan. Okay? Never you'll meet a qualitative researchers that, very tahib na walang makwento, na hindi makwento. Okay? So, initially, I was trained to be a quantitative researcher. Okay? As a nurse, I'm not sure, pasensya na po, but I have this bias. Sinasabi ko naman po lagi na may bias ako. So, I view medical professionals, well, not all of them, of course, no, or the health sciences, to be more of like a, positivist po kasi sila eh. So kung ano ang, kung ano ang nasa box, andyan lang siya, no? Kunwari fever, no? It should be 37.5 and above. Okay, anong ibibigay sa kanya? Paracetamol. Ganyan, no? Kaagad meron silang because that's what's proven. All right? So that's how I was trained as a nurse. Okay, that's how I was trained as a nurse. And kaya yung naunang naging stepping stone ko in research is really quantitative. Kaya whenever I conduct research at that time, way back, okay, napaka, kung anong makita ko, yun na yun. Because that's the result. Kung anong nakita kong computation, yan na yan. Okay? That's the reality. Kung anong nandyan, yan na yun. That's the reality. Alright? But when I shifted into qualitative, oh my God. Okay? Doon ko nalaman that there are multiple realities. Okay? That there are multiple realities. What may be truth for me, okay, there's another set of truth for other people, or, probably truth on, a set of truth on your side. So, it's like, uso ngayon si Marites, yun, nagkakalat ng chismis, sa buong barangay. It's like Marites, no? You have different versions for every story. And as qualitative research, medyo nakakalito yun, no? Medyo nakakalito, no? That's why we as qualitative researchers must be guided by a particular paradigm or by a particular inquiry, so that we would know whether what particular truth we are looking into. Okay? Kung anong katotohanan ang tinitignan natin, kung kaninong katotohanan yung tinitignan natin. Okay? So, okay. All right. So, ayan, no? Ang daming, yes, mga comments ng mga batikan natin, no? Yes, thank you for what do you call this, agreeing with me. Otherwise, just ko baka matunaw po ako dito. Sabi ko naman sa inyo, I am still, I don't consider myself expert because we are all learning, no? As every day, every step of the way. So things like that. So here are the two basic, realities in terms of qualitative research. Now, there are multiple, guys. There are multiple. But, as a college teacher in research, ito po yung kadalasang ginagamit ko kasi nga at the level of probably senior high, you could also do this, no? And at the college level, itong dalawang perspective po na ito ang lagi ko munang tinetrain sa kanila or itinuturo because it's easier. Okay? It's manageable, lalo na ako po I handle multiple groups. Okay, I think for this year alone, the approved number of groups is around 24. Okay, so those are, imagine 24 groups ang advise mo, 24 groups yung i-guide mo along the way. So it's better na make it a little bit simple, okay, but not too grand, para hindi po ma-overwhelm yung mga advisees natin or yung mga students natin. Kasi, as researchers, I must admit, no, nangyari din po sa akin ito. We want our output, we want our research to be, the best as it can be. No, we want parang alam niyo yun, yung aabutin mo yung mga bituin sa langit, all right? But out of practicality, out of feasibility, no, kailangan mas maging simple po tayo, no, because again, baka hindi po tayo matapos, baka abutin na po ng 2 years nagde-data gathering pa rin yung mga estudyante natin. All right? So here are two versions of reality that the most common, okay, to teach as basic qualitative research. So the first one is what you call ontology, no, or the nature of reality or truth, no. So this is very subjective and it's usually mental, no. It is more personal, okay, it is more personal and constructed. So usually dito po papasok yung mga experience ng isang tao. Okay, dito papasok yung mga individual, for example, I give you one, no, as sexually abused individual. Okay? Very subjective dahil ikukwento sa inyo kung ano yung experience niya, anong pagtingin niya sa sarili niya, ano yung naramdaman niya, all right? Ano yung pakiramdam niya kapag nakikisalamuha siya sa ibang tao. Okay? And this is usually applicable for individual personas. All right? Individual personas. Yan po yung isa sa mga rule na sinusundan ng ibang mga qualitative researcher, no? When it comes to perspective, we can always apply ontology. Kunwari, magkakaroon tayo ng ang research natin is all about yung mga frontliners. Ayan. Tapos yung mga frontliners na parang ano lang, no? Parang, what do you call this? Bawalan judgmental, di ba? Na halos the same yung experience. For example, mga na-COVID na frontliners na inihiwalay sa mga pamilya. So something like that. Na they have this common characteristics but individual different experiences. Right? So dito po natin ginagamit si ontology because it's highly subjective. Okay? It's highly personal. Okay? Yung taong lang yon ang makakapag-explain sa inyo why this is happening or why they are feeling such way. Okay? So, on the other hand, there's what you call epistemology. Okay? Kadalasan po sa mga nakikita ko or nababasa kong mga research articles, ginagamit naman si epistemology as a qualitative research perspective kapag group naman, community, or they share as shared goal, shared vision. Okay? And it's usually very relativistic. Okay? Very relative, no? Hindi siya nagbabago yung pananaw based kung anong particular background ng group na yon. Okay? They have varying standards primarily because it's a group, it's a community na iba-iba yung posibleng range ng experiences nila, no? But the beauty about it is they share the same meaning, okay? Because these particular activities or phenomenon are socially constructed. So there's a possibility that they have their own language or they have their own terms. They have their own, measures. So something like that, no? So these are the two easiest and manageable, more likely more manageable, perspective or central inquiries that you might be interested to use as qualitative researcher. No, because medyo mahirap po kasi kapag kaagad grounded theory na ang ibibigay mo, tapos mga for nasa level pa lang ng senior high, or something like college students, because it's quite demanding, no? Because although there are several other perspective that you might want to use, ang payo ko po sana is you as an advisor or you as a consultant dapat may full grasp ka rin doon, para at least po when you teach them the different techniques or the different why this particular perspective is how it is being applied to, hindi po tayo mahihirapan. All right, so just like any other qualitative research methodologies, all of this perspective gives us freedom, a certain degree of freedom. There are more fluid. Okay, it's basically contextual or situational. Sa mga qualitative researchers, ang isa sa mga laging nagagamit na word dito is context. So what's the context? Okay, ano ba yung pinagmulan? Ano ba yung pinaghuhugutan? Bakit ganito ang lumitaw? Ano ba yung context? Sa anong konteksto? So later on, we'll be discussing that as well. Okay, so just like what have been previously mentioned, qualitative research gives us a wide angle and a deeper angle, when it comes to these lenses. We're not into the quantity, but rather on the quality nga, for coming from the word itself. Okay, so we examine the breadth and depth of such phenomenons. Okay, I remember, but there are qualitative researches pala that are not in depth, because I recently learned this technique somewhere in I think in Japan. There's this one researcher na tinawag niya yung technique na yon as man on the street interviews. So if you would notice, may mga tayo, 'di ba, yung mga reporters natin, makikita nyo minsan nasa pina-plug nila sa news, tapos magi-interview sila. So ayun po yung man on the street, very specific yung question, and then of course very short yung mga answers, pero it's like a survey as well. Okay, yun nga lang, mas marami yung mga itatanong, unlike on yung mga in-depth interviews natin, which is usually running from around 30 minutes or so, pero yun usually it runs around 5 minutes, mga ganoon po. Okay, yes. Okay, so usually mga yes, it's a type of descriptive research, Sir Adrian, so more likely yung surface lang yung kinakamot natin. Okay, yun yung yes, oh yes, expert pala natin sa English si Sir Adrian, man on the street. Yeah, so ayun, it's also a qualitative, so kung medyo gusto po nating mas simple and mas mabilis, okay, we could do that, you could search it actually, man on the street interviews. Okay, so I believe this has been quite obvious kanina, I've been mentioning some of the differences between quantitative and qualitative when it comes to worldviews, when it comes to looking into a certain phenomenon. Okay, so this is just a summary, but let me stress this, since we are all teachers, and we are all probably advising or mentoring someone in qualitative research, please be patient with your students, because qualitative research really takes time. Hindi po natin pwedeng i-compare yung progress ng mga estudyante natin sa quantitative to that of the qualitative research students. For my experience alone, no, gaya na nabanggit ko, last year po I've handled around 18 groups. So sa 18 groups na ito, hati po sila. 9 groups are quantitative and 9 groups are qualitative. And it's almost expected na mas mauuna pong matatapos si quantitative. Okay, lalo na ngayon. Lalo na ngayon, ang pagsusurvey, Google form lang po. All right? I think that's the most common ngayon, no? But there are a lot of, online survey tools, no? You have your Kobo, okay, marami pa po, no? Survey Monkey, etc., etc. Okay. And then my students on my qualitative group are quite pressured, no? Nape-pressure na po sila kasi yung quantitative group ko nag-analyze na ng data, sila nagta-transcribe pa lang, no? Yung qualitative group. So I mentioned to them that I understand kung matatagalan kayo, no? I understand if nahihirapan kayo. That is because to tell you honestly, qualitative really takes a lot of time and effort to finish. Okay? Mas madali pong i-manage ang quantitative compared sa qualitative. Pero at the end of the day, when you manage a qualitative research, it's all worth it. Okay? It's like, overcoming a challenge. It's like, climbing up a mountain, no, na mahirap akyatin. So it's like that, no? But of course, the amount of effort and the amount of, what do you call this, dedication put into are just equal, no? Yun nga lang yung time, no, yung time at saka number of process and steps mas marami kay qualitative. Okay? So to sum this up, ayan, no, what are the different intentions bakit ginagamit natin si quali and quanti? So let's just focus on qualitative. Of course, because lalo na kung ang mga topic natin wala pa pong masyadong nag-iimbestiga, no? Because we want to develop an initial understanding of an issue or problem. I have one advisee, a group of students, they're taking up, a Bachelor of Arts in English Language Studies, no? They are looking into how victims of grammar Nazis, okay, are being influenced, specifically in social media, no? 'Di ba, kung mapapansin niyo po, marami, lalo na sa mga woken generation, kapag mali ang grammar na na-post, sa Facebook, kaya sa Twitter, meron magko-correct. So, gusto pong malaman ng mga estudyante ko kung ano ang nararamdaman ng mga na call out na mga social media accounts when it comes to dahil sa mga grammar Nazis. So, that's one, no? Since, grammar Nazi, kapag na-label kang grammar Nazi, ibig sabihin ang OC mo when it comes to, grammar and all, and you tend to correct everyone, and you tend to, parang proclaim that you have a full grasp of, an English language or something like that, any type of a language probably. So, ayun po. And then when we look into the database, no, we in City College of Angeles po kasi we use several online portals, no, and for example, we are granted by DOST to use their own scientific portal, and then we also have several partner institutions, no. There are very limited studies about grammar Nazis because technically it's just, a small portion. Okay, hindi naman po lahat grammar Nazi. And hindi naman po lahat gustong pag-aralan ang nagagawa or nagawa ng mga grammar Nazi. Kasi sino ba naman sila, 'di ba? But then again, we use qualitative because we wanted to know and develop an initial understanding about that particular issue. Okay. Mas gumaling ba? Mas naging careful ba yung mga na-correct sa social media, etc., etc. So something like that. Okay? So we also use qualitative research to look for the range of ideas and feelings about something, no? So this is very much common, no? Kaya nga nabanggit ko kanina, if you would recall, no, I showed you a particular slide na ang dami-daming mga bubbles of thoughts. So as a qualitative researcher, so you should be able to, dissect, classify, and reclassify everything, no? So that alam mo kung hanggang saan yung range of ideas and feelings ng mga tao about it. And then, of course, we tend to differentiate the perspective of two groups or categories of people. Okay, so these are just some of the possible, justifications that you might want to look into, no? And then uncover underlying motivations and factors that influences decision making and opinion. Okay, lalo na ngayon. Oh my God, yeah. Since it's election time, malapit na yung election, 'di ba? Pwede nating itanong to, what's the difference between the, voting decision making ng mga blank generation to that of this generation, 'di ba? Or those who are active in social media and those who are not. So pwede natin po 'yan ipag-differentiate through, in-depth interviews, okay? Yung po bang mga Gen Z, different yung voting preference nila as that of, mga millennials, no? Although they're closer as a generation. So we could look into that. And then provide information needed to design a quantitative. At in this particular statement, ginagamit naman po natin as springboard si qualitative, okay, to be a better justification to have a better justification para magkaroon tayo ng bigger and more grand quantitative study. Actually, yung pong mga, alam nyo, yung pong mga nag-grant ngayon ng mga multi-year and multi-peso research projects ng mga, kunwari, DOST o kaya mga ng CHED, etc., etc. Yung pong mga feasibility studies at saka mga basis nila are coming from qualitative, no? So for example, yung pong mga experimental ethnobotanical components na mga ganitong mga tribe sa mga different parts of the Philippines. Saan po nanggaling yung mga studies na yan? Of course, sa ethnography. Okay? Na pinangunahan ng qualitative. Okay? So, yung mga researchers natin dyan, tinanong nila, so ano po ba yung mga halamang gamot or, mga ugat na ginagamit ninyo? So blah, blah, blah. Paano nyo po ba ito pine-prepare? And then eventually, of course, that's one big justification, no? Sasabihin, dito sa tribo na ito ginagamit ang ganitong halaman para sa let's say infection. So in order for you to pursue a bigger, more complicated quantitative experimental study which costs around millions, okay, yun yung gagamitin mong basis. Okay, kasi napag-alaman ng team mo na dito sa part ng Philippines na to, ito yung ginagamit na mayroon siyang possible, okay, effect on blah, 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 blah. So something like that. All right? And then explain findings from a quantitative study. So that's always another option or justification, no? So sometimes kasi there are already present there are several studies conducted na quantitative. So in order for you to, not miss the chance of using that particular leverage, ang ginagawa natin, we convert that quantitative study into qualitative. Okay? Para either you give more justification or you dig deeper, bakit ganito yung lumabas dun sa quantitative study na yun. So, qualitative research, if you're playful, if you're very creative, no, you can always find an excuse. Why do you want to do a qualitative research? Okay? So yung mga funding agencies po na nakatrabaho ko, ayan usually yung ginagamit nila. Okay? These are the usual reasons na ginagamit nila. So in short, this is how quantitative and qualitative research might look like. Okay? Sa ibang mga tao. But in reality, ito po ang itsura talaga ng qualitative research. Alright, I don't know, no? But, when you dig deeper, ang dami-dami na pong lalabas na, thoughts, realizations, na magpapagulo sa utak mo. Okay? Personally, whenever I have my own, study, sometimes matutulog ka na lang, naiisip mo pa yung mga, ano kayang meaning dito sa statement ng na-interview ko. So something like that, no? Na hindi magpapatulog sa'yo. I'm not sure if you could relate with me, but sometimes I do experience that. O kaya naman, we have our own eureka moment as well. Okay? So whenever sometimes you're stuck in a traffic, tapos, naghihintay ka ng green light, of course, tapos bigla mong maaalala, bakit kaya ganitong ginagawa nila? So you always think, no? That's why sinasabi nila, qualitative researchers, ang pinaka-CPU niyan, okay, ang pinaka-software niyan is yung utak nila. Alright? You might be using a lot of applications such as, MaxQDA. Okay, sorry, bias na naman ako. I use MaxQDA po kasi. Or in vivo. So whatever you are into, no? But at the end of the day, when you analyze all of this data, it's your brain that will be working, no? Siya yung magde-decide, siya yung magi-interpret kung ano ang nakikita mo or narinig mo dun sa mga statements na yon. So, with that, later on, sana kung may marami pa tayong time, pasensya na po, ang daldal ko, 7:54 na. I also encourage you na, although this is very traditional po, no? On my end po kasi, ang pinapagawa ko sa mga estudyante ko para mas ma-embed sila sa data na nakalap nila, they will process it manually. Okay. Although there are several techniques po using, Excel o kaya MaxQDA or in vivo, but that's a separate, story na. I hope Dr. Sanchez will be able to schedule a particular topic on that. Pero for beginners, it's better to always, start with manual qualitative data processing.
Prof. Celis, basta kayo po yung speaker.
Ay, sir. Good luck. Baka abutin tayo ng siyam-siyam. Alright. So ito yung pinaka-paborito ko sa mga meme na nakikita ko when it comes to quantitative and versus qualitative research. Alright. So if you want to be fabulous, you use qualitative research. It's not because you know how to write well, but there is this sense of pride that you wear na nakatapos ka ng qualitative research. This is what I always tell my students, no? Kasi as an advisor, as a mentor, so syempre, hihikayatin mo sila na gawin yung mas madali sa'yo. Alright? So, lagi ko sinasabi, mag-qualitative kayo kasi mas interesting dito, no? Mas maraming when you become an expert in qualitative, mas malaki yung pera. Okay, which is true. Believe it or not, fellow educators, rumaraket ako na sa mga ibang mga NGO or ibang mga organizations, no? In survey, kapag magsa-survey ka, bultuhan po ang bayad dyan. What do you call this? There's this certain number that you need to accomplish for a day para mabayaran ka. But in qualitative, no, it's not like that. It's, it's per output at mas malaki siya, no? Let's say before kasi nung pre-pandemic, kung kunwari magsi-survey kayo and it's pen and paper based, meron mga magbabayad sa iyo mga 50 to 150 pesos per, response. Okay? For quantitative. Pero kung qualitative, my God, it runs around 2,000 to 5,000 pesos. Depende po kung in-depth yan or FGD. So imagine if you conducted, 5 in-depth interviews for a day, you and that costs around 2,000 pesos per interview. O that's 10,000 na, 'di ba? So ayun, kaya siguro mas nagiging fabulous, no? So yan yung isa sa mga my driving force. Bakit qualitative? And the competition is less. The competition is less. Mas marami po ang mga quantitative researchers as compared to qualitative researchers. So expect that whenever, you work with, any other agencies, kapag wala silang nahanap, no choice, kokontakin ka nila ulit. So that's the time that you can raise your, asking price. Para lang po, no? Para mga artista lang yan, no? So once na nagkaroon ka ng award, once na nagkaroon ka ng ganitong accomplishment, okay, all of the, may mga referrals tayo, tatanungin kayo, how much is your rate? Tapos, ayun. Anyway, that's behind the scene. Naku, baka may mga boss ako makarinig. Joke lang po yun. Alright. So, ito sabi ni Miss Castillo, in qualitative research, you use your head, heart, and hands. Yes. Alright, that's true. No, kaya po siguro mas mahal yung bayad or mas commensurate yung binibigay na kapalit because it's very difficult to pay an effort and time, no? Sabi ko nga po dun sa mga nakatrabaho ko, no, staycation, way back, talagang nagkwento po, no, way back, imagine, they would fly me in Dumaguete, in Coronadal, in Iloilo, in, anywhere in the Philippines, just to conduct FGDs. And eventually, process all of the data. Okay. Na ititira ako sa hotel for like 3 to 5 days. So things like that, no? So those are the perks. Okay. Siyempre, bawal pong maistorbo ka. So mag-isa ka lang sa hotel. So papakainin ka na masarap. Pero ngayon, medyo nag-iba na po tayo since it's pandemic. So more on Zoom, more on, the internet modalities na. So these are just few of the, perks and privileges. So what are the attributes of a qualitative researcher? All right. So, ayan, you need to be, confident and bold enough, no? Meaning, kailangan po ng malakas ng loob. I'm not sure if you're familiar with yung tinatawag po nating imposter syndrome. It's the feeling that you cannot do it. It's the feeling that, it's the feeling na you think your skills or your experience or your knowledge is not sufficient enough, no? In qualitative research po, dapat malakas ang loob mo because at the end of the day, you'll be able to do it. At maitatawid niyo po yun, no? Ang isa po sa mga pinaka-importante dito, ayan po, flexibility. All right. With all my experience in research, ang isang pinaka mahalagang natutunan ko is kailangan kong matutong makiusap sa mga taong mas mataas at mas mababa sa akin. So kung lagi po tayong within our level, mahirap pong makipag-usap kung mga, may posisyon, may powerful people, no? There's a different approach. Iba rin naman po yung approach kung bababa ka, no? Sorry for the term, but going grassroots. Okay? I've interviewed, poorest farmers. I've interviewed homeless people. When I went into nung pong kasagsagan or kakatapos lang ng bagyong Yolanda. Okay, isa po ako sa pinadala ng DSWD at saka ng isang international organization doon to conduct what do you call this? Research about WASH, no? Water, sanitation and hygiene, no? And I did the qualitative part. Ang hirap pong makipag-usap lalo na kapag may language barriers, no? So kung wala po kayong pasensya, kung wala po kayong hindi po kayo marunong mag-adapt dun sa situation, it would be very, very difficult. That's why it's a good training ground for our students, no? It's a good training ground for them to learn that there are different people, there are different personalities, and there are different approaches to talk to everyone. Okay? And hindi lang po tayo iisang level lang. Another one is trustworthiness. Ito po yung pinangangalagaan natin as researchers. In fact, kahit na, quantitative, whether you're quantitative or qualitative, yung trustworthiness sa inyo, no? Always protect your data, always protect your participants or your subjects. Dahil kung wala po sila, wala kayong mapoproduce na output, no? I remember I had this one group nung nagtuturo pa po ako sa isang private university, and the panel was asking kung pwedeng ipakita yung persona nung mga interviews, no? Kabilin-bilinan ko kasi, sa mga advices ko na not unless there's an order from, an ethics board or probably higher authority, do not divulge anything because you are the sole protectors and the sole, advocates of your participants and subjects. So ayun, I felt of course, tayong mga qualitative researchers medyo may pagka-sensitive, no? I felt really bad about it, but at the end of the day, we need to do it, no? Kailangan maprotektahan po namin yung mga participants namin, lalo na kung sensitive population po sila. Lalo na ako, mahilig po ako sa mga sensitive population, no? Yung mga na sexually abused, yung mga commercial sex workers, yung mga HIV positive people, yung mga inabandonan ng mga parents, yung mga inabandonan ng mga anak. So medyo I love working with this particular set of people because I hope someday I could change the way people look into them or the way people are treating them. So here are just some. I think mas ma-explain po ito if there would be another lesson, of course, on managing, budgeting in research, etc., etc. All right. So I think na na rin po natin ito yung the different attributes, no? One of the na-highlight, and I think it was agreed by one of our audience, is the researcher as an instrument. Gaya nga po na nasabi niya, no, yung head, hearts, and hands. Tayo po yun as researchers. We are the only system We are the only CPU. We are the only software that could analyze everything, no? So we use ourselves as instruments. Okay, di ba? Napaka philosophical. Sir Dr. Sanchez is a graduate of a seminary, no? And being an instrument of whom? Di ba? We as researchers, doon pa lang mismo sa word na researcher as an instrument, it's a big word. Okay, you can be an instrument like, your laptop working on something, or an instrument of God, an instrument of the people, okay, to bring out change. So, yun yung kakaiba, yun yung ibang-iba natin sa qualitative, sa quantitative. Sa quantitative, kapag sinabing instrument, yan yung questionnaire mo. Yan yung sasagutan ng mga respondents mo. Pero in qualitative, okay, you are the instrument. So meron kang role, whether that's in research or whether that's in the society or whether that's, for humanity. O, di ba, Sir Richard? Ano masasabi? Okay, yes, agents of change. Okay, kaya, okay, ayan. Lahat tayo kailangan mag-isip. Kasi, kapag hindi po natin pinagplanuhang mabuti kung ano yung research natin, nako, malaking, po yan, disaster, no? So, when you realize that your research question is answerable by yes or no, as much as possible po, we as qualitative researchers, we dig deeper, no? So, later on, mabilisan na lang po ito because it's 8:08. Later on, I'll show you some of the different, techniques I do in order for us to, conceptualize a particular research, no? So, how do we design? Ayan. I think some of you are already heard this, no? But on my end, whenever I ask my students or my advisees, when in terms of conceptualizing, lagi pong ito yung mga pinapakita ko, no? Dapat po may sarili kayong advokasya. Ano po ba yung pinaglalaban ninyo? Ano po yung gusto ninyong ipaglaban? Ano po yung gusto ninyong patunayan? And in order for you to contribute something, okay, kailangan po may pinaghuhugutan kayo. And those are your advocacies. We might have different advocacies, no? Heart Evangelista, ang advocacy niya mag-alaga ng or mag-adopt ng mga stray dogs, stray cats, pets, something like that, no? You also consider your experiences, no? Just like what I've mentioned earlier, no? Mahilig po ako sa mga vulnerable people, sa mga vulnerable sectors, primarily because, aside from my advocacy, no? At some point in my life, I could relate to them, no? For example, yung current dissertation ko po ngayon, no? I have been writing my dissertation for 2 years already kasi inuuna ko po yung racket. Anyway, kidding aside, I chose elderlies in solo living arrangement because I myself is very much close to my grandmother. Alright, siya po yung nagpalaki sa akin and all. And I cannot really imagine that what if my grandmother lives alone? Siya lang. Diba? I could see a lot of old people, during this pandemic. Okay, I've interviewed some already. Na, imagine we are on, quarantine and isolation, tapos bawal silang lumabas. So, how do they acquire their basic needs? Diba? With the goodness of their neighbors. What if dumating doon sa point na even their neighbors cannot, lend a hand? So something like that, no? So it all boils down to whether you're fighting for it or you've experienced it. Okay, yun po yung isa sa mga mahalagang kailangan sa sangkap para mas maging effective yung research natin. yung lalo-lalo na sa qualitative. Okay? Or probably we could use what's the emerging social phenomenon. Okay? So, marami po yan ngayon, no? Later on, I'll show you what are these, no? And of course, what type of data do we need, no? In qualitative research po, these types of data depends on our feasibility, no? Kung marami po yung mga population, yung mga target nating participants, anong sector sila. So the more vulnerable the sector is, or the more sensitive the sector is, the more na mahirap po yung type of data na makukuha natin, no? So I advise, I always tell my students na you go for the general public, since mahirap, lalo na ngayon, pandemic, not everyone will agree to meet you face to face. All right, and not everyone has the capacity to, you know, work on a laptop or on a mobile phone, tapos good internet connection. So things like that we need to consider, no? So we can either do interviews or FGDs. We can do photos or videos and drawings, no? I remember, no, one of my mentors, she's in UP Los Baños. It's Dr. Gloria Nelson. Dr. Gloria Nelson Luz. She was a pioneer. She's a sociologist, and she is a pioneer on robot photo. No, so around, I'm not sure kailan po yun, pero yung mga ginawa niyang research at that time, her research team, ang una po nilang ginawa is they asked several, you know, stakeholders to capture photos on certain issues. Tapos ayun, yung mga photos na yon pina-analyze sa kanila, blah 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 blah, something like that. So you might want to use that as well. Okay. Others naman, you might want to use drawings, no? I did this to one of my groups. Pinadrawing po namin yung mga grade 1 to 4, grade 1 to 4 students on what is their perception about MAPE, or PE, something like that, basta. And then very cute yung mga drawing, no? And then believe it or not, at their young age, they know dun sa mga drawings nila what separates male and female students. May makikita po kayong gender disparity. Okay? At their young age, grade 1 to grade 3. Okay? So it's very what do you call this? Enlightening, no? So it's up to you po. And then of course you can always do artifacts. So ano po yung mga artifacts? So these are, you know, simple things na pwedeng pulutin or makita kung saan-saan, no? There's this one group that, you know, I recently I met quite some time ago. Ang ginawa naman po nila, inanalyze nila yung mga basurang nakukuha sa mga park. So ano po ba yung mga kadalasang basurang nakukuha sa park? So tinignan nila yung junk food, ayan, ilang fast food ang nandoon, anong klase ng material, plastic ba, papel, you know, something like that. All right? So napakarami pong possibilities when it comes to data collection. Okay, and then of course, that's where data analysis comes in, no? So ito nga yung suggestion ko kanina, kung what type of data analysis can be utilized. All right, so these are just some of the few research methods using qualitative research. And I think we are all familiar with it. Anyway, I can always leave this presentation to anyone who's interested, no? I think I also made some comments already, no, na we dig deeper. So ano po yung dinidig deeper natin? So ito po yun, no? What is hidden? Kung ano po yung hindi nakikita. as represented by this iceberg, as you can see, most of the time, when it's kunwari quantitative survey, kadalasan po kasi kapag quantitative, naisip natin survey, but there are a variety of methods din. So, ang nakikita lang natin is just a representation. Okay? It's just, a numerical value. But in the end of for every numerical value, there lies several reasons. There lies several stories and, several perspectives. And that's what we are looking into, no? So the deeper we go, okay, the more meaning and the more perspective we discover. Yun po yung meron sa qualitative research. So again, another representation, no, ng isang iceberg. So sabi nga natin yung empirical, usually ito yung mga quantitative. Tapos tayo nandito, o di ba? Very flamboyant na naman ang explanation. That is because, of course, qualitative researchers are flamboyant in nature. Okay, so I think you're also familiar with this, no? The steps in the qualitative data. I won't be, mentioning this into detail. So this is the IMRAD method, the IMRAD format. This is what we use in City College of Angeles because we've talagang thrown away, no. We got rid of the Germanic method na, chapter 1, chapter 2, no. We are trying to infuse sorry for that. Okay. We are trying to infuse a better concise way to write researches so that our students won't be able to, magamit nila in the future as a utility, okay, and not just, as a requirement. Kasi po yung Germanic method or yung maraming, mahaba, double space, blah, blah, blah na, although it's an old school, medyo with the type of generation that we have, okay, medyo baka maumay sila. So we tried to shorten it into IMRAD or into journal type already. So I'm not sure if that's what you are doing right now, no? So here are just some no, just like what I've mentioned, focus on your objective, no? You look into your advocacy goal purpose, no? You look at your experiences. You look at what are the different social phenomena around. Okay, so here are some of the topics that you might want to look into, no? Lalo na ngayon, we are in the socio-technological age, no? Yung social media platforms, no? If you would, I'm not sure, but an average youth, ang dito sa Pilipinas, according to a recent survey, meron siyang 3 social media account. Okay, syempre nandiyan na yung Facebook, meron na yung Twitter, meron na yung Instagram, no? But there are also other social media platforms, no? Of course, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, no? Yung mga gumagamit ng alter, poster, or role player accounts, no? They assume another persona, no? You could also go into memes or blogs or probably fake news, no? Trolls, ito lalo na ngayon, marami na po tayong mga election related incidences, no? Now if you would notice yung mga topics natin, mas nagdi-deal siya more on, mga nakikita natin virtually. That is because of course we are anticipating that up until 2023, no, baka hanggang doon 2023, 2024 yung mode natin of online classes. So better use and abuse it. Okay, so these are my favorite, these are my favorite deeper meanings or deeper issues, no? Yung mga vulnerabilities, nabanggit ko na po yan. Gender, of course, no? Specifically for women and LGBTQ+, no? kunwari yung mga certain issues na pwedeng nagiging vulnerable yung mga babae as compared sa mga lalaki. Okay? And then of course, pinakasikat sa lahat yung mga statuses, no? Stata, your economic age or position. And then, lalong-lalo na ngayon, ang pinakamahalaga ngayon is mental health across all levels. So, you're all familiar with gaps. Ito po yung laging tinatanong sa atin kapag nag-defense tayo. No? So, what gap do you address? So, don't worry, marami na pong naisulat tungkol sa mga gaps na yan. So, we have evidence gap. Ayan, no? Yung mga hindi pa napapatunayan, no, or yung mga gusto nating maging contradictory tayo dun sa mga nauna na research natin. Okay, and then you have your knowledge gap, no? Wala pang napapatunayan or wala pang nasusulat diyan, no? I gave you an example a while ago yung sa mga Nazis, grammar Nazis. And then there are several, no? Ang pinakauso dito sa Pilipinas po, methodological gap and population gap. Sasabihin sa iyo ng estudyante, most of the studies conducted are from abroad. So let's conduct the study here at in the Philippines, more specifically in Angeles City. So yan po yung kadalasang gaps, no? So if you wanted to have a copy, just search for this, no? I am fond of joining po kasi mga Facebook groups that, you know, shares a lot of information. So after verifying, kapag nakita ko na, oo nga, merong ganitong article and all. So, I use it as one of my resources as well. So, ayan, lagi ko pong sinasabi, always contextualize. We base it on the local issues. We base it on our personal level. We base it on our experiences. So, I think isa po yan sa pinakamahalagang leksyon ng isang qualitative researcher. Right? Yung contextualization. So, I think that's all. Yung iba po dito, nabanggit ko na, umulit na lang because makwento po talaga ako. Pasensya na po. Nahawa siguro ako sa mga ini-interview ko, no? So, parting words, I just want everyone to, you know, enjoy qualitative research, enjoy meeting a lot of people, enjoy talking to a lot of people. Because, you know, sometimes, yung pong mga nakakausap natin, sila pa yung, instead na tayo yung magpasalamat, sila yung nagpapasalamat sa atin kasi may kumakausap sa kanila. Alright? Sila yung nagbibigay ng time sa atin because you know, wala pong magbibigay ng time sa kanila. So, something like that, no? It's very rewarding. It's very rewarding. Next is think out of the box, no? Gaya na nabanggit po kanina, no? Be bold, be confident, no? Huwag po kayong matakot na gumawa ng qualitative research dahil mabigat, maraming gagawin, maraming process. But rather, you know, try to enjoy it, try to overcome all the challenges. And believe me, at the end of the day, you'll be proud that you have one piece of an article na qualitative in nature. And ito lagi ko po sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, we perform research because we want first inform others, next help others, and lastly, we learn from them. We learn from others. So, ayan lang po. So, I hope everyone, I hope kahit isa lang ang natutunan nyo ngayong araw na to mula sa aking mga experiences and na-share, meron. And of course, lastly, sabi nga po ni Sir Isaac Newton, no, if I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. So, in qualitative research, we always value our participants. Sila po yung mga giants natin. Sila po yung dahilan bakit marami po tayong na-appreciate na bagay sa mundo. Marami tayong natutunan sa mundo. So, ayun lang po. Maraming salamat and sorry at napahaba po. Thank you po.
Wow, thank you, Sir Celis, for that very informative discussion. So let me ask Sir Goña to please share my slides. Due to some technical difficulties, may problem ako sa connection. So on my behalf, kindly share the slides po, Sir Goña.
Hello po, Ma'am Alyssa. Nakikita po,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay na po. Pakilakihan na lang po. Thank you, sir. So before we proceed with our question and answer, let us call Dr. Goña to administer the oath taking of newly appointed research consultants. May I request these people to open their cameras and unmute their microphone. So please open your cameras for our new appointed research consultants and also unmute your microphone po.
Okay po, good evening once again. And hello to our new research consultants. And good evening po. Okay, I request everyone to please rise up. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Garrison US.
Do solemnly and sincerely
Solemnly and sincerely
promise, swear, and declare
promise,
swear, and
declare
that I will truly and faithfully
that I will truly and faithfully
and to the best of my skills,
and to the best of my skills,
knowledge, and abilities
knowledge and abilities,
execute the powers
execute the powers
and trust reposed in me
and trust reposed in me
as ETCOR Educational Research Centers
as ETCOR Educational Research Centers,
your position
research consultant.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations po.
Okay, congratulations to our newly appointed research consultants. And now let us call, next slide, sir. Okay, now let us call Dr. Madeline B. Estacio, Vice President for Academics of University de La Salette, Santiago City, to deliver the acceptance speech.
Thank you, Ms. Maria Alyssa Tuazon. To Dr. Richard D. Sanchez, Head of the Research Consultants, ETCOR. To Dr. A. Silagman, National Consultant. To Dr. Ian I. Lianares, National Deputy Consultant for Research Publications and Training. ETCOR's National Consultants, Regional Coordinators, Provincial, Division, and City Coordinators, all ETCOR research consultants, and to all my fellow research enthusiasts, a warm evening, everyone. Let me take this opportunity to pay tribute to the very important and exceptional role played by ETCOR in promoting the culture of research, thereby contributing in improving the society through academic inquiries. On behalf of the research consultants of the ETCOR Educational Research Center, who made an oath tonight, let me express our sincere gratitude that we were given this opportunity to be part of this endeavor. With great pleasure and honor, we hereby accept our responsibility as research consultants of ETCOR. With our passion for research, I believe that all our effort as a team shall help us realize our vision and mission of expanding the existing body of knowledge, which addresses different issues in pedagogy while improving teaching and learning practices. While serving at core as research consultants, we also take the opportunity to grow professionally as we learn from one another. I look forward to having a fruitful scientific journey with you all. Indeed, it takes a wise man to learn from his mistakes, but an even wiser man to learn from others. Thank you and have a good evening, my ETCOR family.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for that message. And now, before we proceed with our Q&A, may I request everyone to please open their camera for documentation as we want to see your beautiful and handsome faces. Pwede po kaya paki-open yung ating camera for documentation para makita natin ang naggagandahan at nagwagwapuhan nating mga research consultants. Ayan, di ba? Ang gwapo pala nila. O, di ba? Tinatago. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay. And now let's proceed with our Q&A. The floor is now open for your questions. You can type your questions on our chat box. Ready naman si Sir Celis to answer your questions, di ba? Napakagaling niya kanina sa kanyang discussion. I know he is ready to answer all your questions. Sige po, type lang natin sa ating chat box and I will read the question for you. Sige po. Wala yatang gustong magtanong. Sir, masyado yatang malinaw ang ating discussion. Sige, type lang po kahit isa o dalawang tanong lang para medyo kabahan naman ng konti si Sir Celis. Diba? Kahit isa o dalawang tanong lang para maramdaman naman niya yung question. Sige nga? Sige po. Anyone?
Ma'am Alyssa, can I raise a question?
Sige po.
Sir Celis, first of all, yeah, I learned a lot tonight from you. I just would like to raise something about a hypothesis in qualitative research. So yeah, can you give us some samples of how we formulate hypothesis in qualitative research? Because there were misconceptions about hypothesis is just for quantitative researches, and the qualitative researches do not need one. So kindly enlighten us on that, because in my readings I have seen, of course, na we also need to formulate hypothesis for qualitative research. Okay, so yun lang po, sir, from your experience, really wide experience in conducting qualitative research, kasi ako medyo bago-bago pa lang din ako sa qualitative research. So I just would like to learn more from you. Thank you, Sir Michael.
All right. Thank you po, Ma'am Estacio. Actually po, yes, there are several proponents po na nagsasabi na ideally qualitative research wala pong hypothesis, or meron din naman pong proponents na nagsasabi na meron. All right? So let me just first explain the two sides po. Those who are pertaining to the hypothesis sa qualitative research, sometimes we call it assumptions. So medyo ayan po, no, meron po tayong assumptions, meron po tayong hypothesis. Okay, but if we're going to talk on stricter terms, yung pong assumptions, this can either be created by the researcher based on doon po sa paradigm na ginagamit niya. So kunwari po kayo feminist paradigm or or any other paradigm, magde-develop po kayo ng assumption na gusto nyong tignan doon sa mga observation or interviews with your participants. Meron din po tayong ibang assumptions na pwedeng lifted siya from the literature. And we wanted to investigate or we wanted to prove whether these assumptions can or are actually existing with our chosen subjects or participants. Yung naman pong idea na wala dapat na hypothesis or assumption, yung qualitative research is coming from those who sinasabi nila na baka kasi maging bias, baka kasi mag-create ng kumbaga influence yung assumption na or mabubuong assumption ng researcher kapag nandun na po siya sa field. So as early as, formulating or conceptualizing a problem, dapat po wala po siyang expectations. So yun po yung isang school of thought. Now, on my end, ang lagi ko, since beginning researchers po itong mga to, I highly advise na magkaroon po tayo ng assumptions. Okay? Kasi po para at least guided at saka mas streamline po natin ano yung gusto nilang mapatunayan. Kasi po baka it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Para pong ganun yung description kapag walang assumption, no? Kapag kasi wala pong assumption, mas preferred po ito kung grounded theory yung approach natin or yung research design. So ayun po. And I think may mga ideas naman po yung ibang mga natin dito. Yes, ito po, nabanggit nga po, assumption of the study. So ayun po, sana it shed light. So at the end of the day, bilang kayo po yung advisor at kayo po yung magme-mentor sa kanila. So it's up to you po, how do you want to, challenge their brain. Ako po kasi may mga estudyante po ako dito. Medyo po ako, sadistic daw. Joke lang po. Basta kung ano po yung more feasible on the time frame and on the level of our students.
Another question, sir, from Julie S. Berame. Hello, sir. Have you tried using photo voice in your research endeavor? Thank you.
Yes po. Opo. Photo voice or others would call it robot photo. Okay. Ginamit po namin ito nung nagtuturo pa po ako sa isang university and mga ang participants po namin is I think the topic is all about the struggles of being a student nurse at that time. So yung mga student nurses po, since uso naman po yung mga camera phone, no? So we gave them the liberty to, document through photos yung experiences nila. And it's very, it's very interesting kasi lalabas po yung what inspires them, no? Ang ano po kasi dito, we use these photos so that mas ma-trigger po or mas ma-elicit sa kanila yung mga kwento behind those photos. So, kumbaga, the photo is a representation of a story. The photo is a representation of a feeling. Yun po yung main purpose why we use photo voice. And I think for younger generations, they would be more glad to participate, lalo na kung ganito po. Kasi alam nyo na, lalo na ngayon, uso po yung mga, di ba, yung mga Instagram, ayan. So, I think it's one way of eliciting not just their creativity but putting emotion into what they capture. Kaya yes po. Pero dapat pag-aralan pong mabuti because there are certain steps or phases para magawa po ito. Lalo na tinetrain po kasi natin sila how to do it uniformly or something like that. So depende po sa approach.
Okay, from Sir Raymond R. Molano. Hi, sir. Can the findings from qualitative research be generalized just like quantitative research?
All right. So, okay. I think that would be, it depends how big the population being studied po, no? But one of the characteristics of qualitative research is its exclusivity. All right? Bakit po siya exclusive? Kasi po, kung ano lang yung nakita mo doon sa particular group, doon sa particular sample size or particular community, doon mo lang po siya makikita. Okay? Gaya na po nabanggit ko kanina, di ba, there are two worldviews. Yung isa po yung ontological, tapos yung po yung epistemological. So depende po whether they share the same understanding on this particular concept. Ang ibig sabihin po nun, socially constructed yung nakikita nilang meaning. So, pwede po sigurong ma-generalize yun. Pero kung individualized, personal, and very intimate yung view nila on that particular reality or truth, sorry po, pero exclusive and very specialized po or very specific po yung view natin doon. So, it really depends po on the type and breadth of the population. Pero ayun po, sige po. Mahabang
Sige po,
kwento,
sir.
pasensya na po kasi it's a debate ng mga school of thoughts po yan eh. Pero play safe tayo, baka may mga away sa akin, may mga bully. Joke. So ayun po.
Okay. Read ko na lang po yung last na sinabi ni Ma'am Mary Jane Salazar. In qualitative research, we have assumption of the study as replacement of hypothesis in quantitative research. Okay, with that po, congratulations, Sir Celis, since overtime na tayo dahil napaka-interesting ng topic ni Sir and napakagaling niyang mag-discuss. So with that, you really deserve a virtual applause. So, Sir Goña, can you, next slide, please? So, I will send the link of the evaluation on our chat box so you can, you need to accomplish it within 24 hours. So, pakihintay na lang po, isi-send ko yung ating evaluation link. While waiting, let me read to you the Certificate of Recognition of Sir Celis. Sir Goña, next slide, please. So yan, I want to read to you the Certificate of Recognition. So, Certificate of Recognition is given to Michael Louie C. Celis, RN, MAN, MHSS, and HABA, LPT, Research Consultant of ETCOR Educational Research Center for his invaluable time and expertise as a resource speaker in the series of National Capacity Building Seminar on Research Writing for Research Consultants of ETCOR Educational Research Center, held from October 20, 2021 until March 2, 2022. The signatories, Dr. Ian Linares, Dr. Ace Lagman, and Dr. Richard B. Sanchez. Congratulations, Sir Celis. And now, next slide, Sir Goña. Let me invite everyone in our next webinar, which is on November 10, 2021. Our speaker is Ma'am Anne Klein A. Maravillas Diduro with the topic, Conceptualizing Quantitative Study. Kung kay Sir Celis is qualitative, this one is quantitative study, motivation, justification, and centrality of the inquiry. Next slide, Sir Goña. For our new research consultants, if you want to avail t-shirt and polo shirt, you can inquire to Blueprint Shop. You can just simply type it on your Facebook, Blueprint Shop. It is not the ETCOR who's selling the t-shirts, but the blueprint shop. We are only beneficiary of certain percentage of the sales. If you want to avail one, you can message the Facebook page. Okay? For the last slide, and now for the closing message, let us hear Sir Dave, Prudence, G. Tayag, Master Teacher 1 of Schools Division of Pampanga for the closing message.
Okay, good evening po. Ayan. Speak and to our event chairperson for Mervin F, coordinator of Sagman Analytics for everyone, to Dr. Adrian project coordinator of Sagman Analytics, Dr. A. Sagman and Dr. Ian Linares, national consultant and deputy consultant for research education concerns, and of course,
Okay, nawawala yata si Sir Dave. Prudence, hello? Or ako lang?
Nawawala po talaga siya, Doc.
O, nawawala po siya. Or with that po, I want to congratulate everyone for joining us today. So yung pong ating link for evaluation is already on our chat box. Kindly check na lang po and click the link. And you need to accomplish it within 24 hours. So with that po, congratulations and thank you for participating and thank you for joining us in our webinar. Hope to see you again next time or next week. Same time, same place in our Zoom meeting. So with that po, thank you very much, Sir Celis, and enjoy the rest of the day. Congratulations.